लास्ट वीक हमने बेसिकली बोला कि द एजेंडा वाज फर्स्ट, how do you build a profile that gets shortlisted, right? A lot of people ask me this question कि भैया I am applying to so many roles, right? और I am from a certain background, I am from sales, I am from arts, मेरे पास 10 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है, मेरे पास 20 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है, मुझे क्या करना चाहिए, क्या ये रोल रेलेवेंट भी रहेगा? एंड इफ सो, since I don't have any product experience, a lot of times I don't even get shortlisted, or a lot of people have cited this also कि भैया मैं IIT से नहीं हूँ, मैं IIM से नहीं हूँ, तो क्या मेरा रोल, मैं शॉर्टलिस्ट क्यों नहीं हो रहा, राइट? या what am I doing less than somebody else? Today talk about a little bit about crafting a winning resume. कि अच्छा resume क्या होता है? एक product management के resume के style से ज़्यादा. Like you think that you put styles, you put skills, and product sense is the ability to make correct micro and macro decisions in a product to derive meaningful user value. When essentially the iPhone started, right? When it happened, right? Why did they bring a touch interface? और पीपल टेल मी भैया मैंने ये कोर्स किया, वो कोर्स किया, और मैंने पोर्टफोलियो 7 हफ्ते में बना दिया, तो अब मुझे 7 इस तरह की केस स्टडी सॉल्व करनी आती है. आई नो हाउ टू सॉल्व केस स्टडीज एंड स्टफ लाइक दैट. इज दैट द रियल गोल ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो? इससे पहले ना आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट आपके लिए एंटेल क्या करना है, राइट? ये जो व्यू है ना प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट का, ये एक बहुत एक्सीलेंट प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर का व्यू है. इट इज नॉट अ व्यू फॉर समबडी हु होल्ड्स द पीएम टाइटल. क्योंकि सुनने से कुछ नहीं होता. मेरी बातें आज भी सुनोगे, इसके बाद ये बंद करके अच्छा बहुत अच्छा वीडियो था, रिकॉर्डिंग रख लोगे, एक ड्राइव में अपलोड कर दोगे, तो कुछ नहीं होगा. तो हमने लास्ट वीक क्या डिस्कस किया? लास्ट वीक हमने बेसिकली बोला कि द एजेंडा वाज फर्स्ट, how do you build a profile that gets shortlisted, right? A lot of people ask me this question कि भैया I am applying to so many roles, right? और I am from a certain background, I am from sales, I am from arts, मेरे पास 10 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है, मेरे पास 20 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है, मुझे क्या करना चाहिए, क्या ये रोल रेलेवेंट भी रहेगा? एंड इफ सो, since I don't have any product experience, a lot of times I don't even get shortlisted, or a lot of people have cited this also कि भैया मैं IIT से नहीं हूँ, मैं IIM से नहीं हूँ, तो क्या मेरा रोल, मैं शॉर्टलिस्ट क्यों नहीं हो रहा, राइट? या what am I doing less than somebody else, right? तो हमने वो बात की. Then we have to today talk about a little bit about crafting a winning resume. कि अच्छा resume क्या होता है? एक product management के resume के style से ज्यादा, like you think that you put styles, you put skills, and उससे कहीं ज्यादा मीनिंग होता है कंटेंट में, कि आप लिख क्या रहे हो वहां पे, right? What are you writing? A lot of people, what do they do? They essentially go to services, n number of services, and they end up saying कि भैया मेरा resume बना दो, या make something meaningful for me, right? In some capacity, one or the other. But reality है, content पे कोई focus ही नहीं करता कि मैं लिख क्या रहा हूँ, right? Third, कौन से product concepts आपको आने चाहिए? Again, my answer to you is very very simple, right? If you're learning product concepts, they're not just product concepts, they're general problem solving concepts. So if you truly want to realize that whether your product sense has improved, right, try applying it in places where you have no incentive. Like for example, last time मैंने आपको एक बात बोली थी in the section, and I will do a small recap also. I said that product sense is the ability to make correct micro and macro decisions in a product to derive meaningful user value. Again, बहुत simple example. When essentially the iPhone started, right? When it happened, right? Why did they bring a touch interface? Okay, it was something that nobody was doing back then. It was innovative, right? But fundamentally, it changed your user behavior of using any application. Does that make sense? Right? So it allowed you to do a lot of things which earlier you had to invest time on, like write a text message and do things like that, or open your folders or something like that, or click, right? It was a friction for people to essentially do that step. And that's why it's a great micro or a macro product decision, right? That's what product sense allows you to do. So हमने ये बात की, ठीक है? So हमने क्या बोला कि what are the actionable steps that will increase your chances of getting the right product management job? We talked about a few lessons about why some lessons are super important, right? What are those lessons? We said that if today you really want to crack the PM role, or you really want to go or transition into a meaningful product management role, resumes don't do enough, right? The fundamental philosophy here is very simple, very simple, that at any given point the interviewer should find your profile enterprising enough even before the interview, right? So that they can essentially talk to you. And what is one of the very good ways? You can build some presence on meaningful platforms like X, LinkedIn, do things like that, right? But LinkedIn more consciously, because obviously it is a operator network. It's a network which allows you to find newer opportunities, right? So that's the first thing I talked about last time. Why creating a LinkedIn profile and making it meaningful with content, not just the hacks that title में ये लिख दो, उसमें वो लिख दो, इन सब चीजों को छोड़ के, right? It should be your content that should give away the fact that how do you think, right? How do you bring across certain things when there is a problem in front of you? So that's the first thing I said. The second thing that I said was, please break away from this myth that you need a product management title to learn product building. ये बात भी मैंने बहुत clearly last time बोली थी. It is not true, right? Because every person tells me, Bhaiya, in order to become a PM, I need PM experience. That's what people ask. And then the second question they ask is, when I don't have PM experience, how will I become a PM? It's a catch-22, right? That is not true. Somebody has to give somebody a chance, right? And in order to do that, you have to prove your credibility on paper. Most people say, oh, I've looked at these questions, so I think I'm good at this. Think never works, right? You have to act. You have to actually prove it on the paper. And a lot of times it shows. Like a lot of people tell me, भैया मैंने ये कोर्स किया, वो कोर्स किया, और मैंने ये पोर्टफोलियो 7 हफ्ते में बना दिया, तो अब मुझे 7 इस तरह की केस स्टडी सॉल्व करनी आती है. I know how to solve case studies and stuff like that. Is that the real goal of a portfolio? A real goal of a portfolio is that if you solve any problem, it should bring some insight on the table, so that if the other person who is reading it finds it insightful and says, oh wow, I was not aware that why this business works a certain way. That is what has to come out, right? If you commoditize the process of thinking, the only thing that you are going to get back is very poor results. Thinking is unique, right? Last time I also said that a good product manager is someone who brings insights on the table. Is every observation an insight? Not really, right? That is an insight. Why people do what they do, right? That's the second. So any kind of portfolio or any kind of learning that you do should be translated on paper. That's the second. What I mean by paper is it should be a reality. It should be a real thing that you can send across to other people, right? It should not be something that you believe and say that, oh, I worked on this, so I'm good at this, right? The third thing is that this very process of job hunting makes you smarter. A lot of people, what they do, they also make this very poor mistake. What they typically do is that they think that they like the PM role, they go into the role, they try to understand, oh, what are the entry level things. So what they see is that somebody is talking to business, somebody is talking to engineering, somebody is talking to design. So what is their understanding from there is that, oh, I probably need to learn design. I probably need to learn engineering. I probably need to learn how to do sales and business and all of these things, and that will make me a great product manager or something like that. The reality is very counterintuitive. The reality is that problems lead to skills don't lead to problems, right? एक प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर किसी भी कंपनी में पहले जाता है ना, सबसे पहले ज्यादातर लोग ये रोल इसलिए करते हैं क्योंकि उनको लगता है टेक इज हार्ड, or in some meaning, or they're not enjoying it. It's not a substitute for technology roles. It's an enabler of technology roles. Difference है यहाँ पे. एक प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट रोल एक टेक्नोलॉजी रोल का सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं है कि मुझे कोडिंग अच्छी नहीं लगती या I have been doing testing for the last 15 years. I think I can become a product manager. You need to rationalize it. What are the different skill sets a really good product manager? Because really good product managers नहीं होते तो अब अभी Zoom पे ही नहीं बैठे होते. ये बनाया किसने प्रोडक्ट? अगर अच्छे प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर नहीं होते तो व्हाट्सएप पे बात ही नहीं कर रहे होते. अगर अच्छे प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर नहीं होते तो मैं लिंक्डइन पे पोस्ट ही नहीं कर पाता. ये भी तो सच बात है, right? So their skill set is truly to uncover the user pain point, understand, oh, like for example, आप सोचते हो आपने एक प्रोडक्ट बनाया, whatever that product, you want to sell maybe like मिठाइयाँ for whatever reasons, ठीक है? You want to sell laddus for all I care, right? And you see there is a market, right? What you now understand is there are n number of people, they're coming on a page on which you say I'm selling laddus, world class laddus, and what you see is most people are not able to click on the buy now button. What does it tell you? Now this is when a product manager thinks, oh, I think design is a problem, right? We need to refunction and restructure the design. And that is when a PM goes and learns the crafts or color theory or understanding of design or understanding of UX, right? ये role इसलिए मत करो. Again, the role stems from the very fact that can you really identify a problem? Job seeking is like exactly like that. Exactly, बिल्कुल वैसे ही. If you apply to 100 places without looking, just because it's a PM role, right? And you think that you have not worked hard for it. Then, and you believe that 10 people, because of your past experiences, maybe if you're an APM, PM, SPM, principal PM, any which ways, post SPMs तो लोग इस तरह से जॉब हंटिंग करते ही नहीं, उनके नेटवर्क इतने अच्छे होते हैं क्योंकि तभी उन्होंने इतना काम किया होता है कि they don't really need to come and essentially make a network unless and until they really want to create a brand, right? SPMs तक अगर आप ये सोचते हो कि नहीं ब्रो कि this is the way to do it, then you're looking at your life as a funnel, right? And this is the one place where I would say don't do that. Your life is not dependent on 100 places. फिर 10 शॉर्टलिस्ट करेंगे, उसमें से 2 कॉल करेंगी और 2 कॉल करके आपकी किसी में नौकरी लग जाएगी, तो आपने क्या किया? And if you end up at a toxic workplace or at some place where product management होती ही नहीं है और आपसे आप घूम फिर के 4 साल बाद, and this is also a very pertinent question that comes to me by a lot of people with 10-15 years of experience कि I am in midlife crisis, I'm not doing anything in my office, कुछ meaningful नहीं हो रहा, मुझे मजा ही नहीं आ रहा, मैं करूं क्या, right? ये question भी कई बार, मतलब tons of times have been asked this to me, and उसका reason पता क्या होता है? Because most people optimize for only one thing in a job: how much money I am getting. Most people optimize. I'm saying most people, I'm not saying all. I'm saying most people optimize for only that, right? And what typically happens is you under optimize for culture, you under optimize for talent, you under optimize for growth, you under optimize for long term learning. आप एक ही नौकरी नहीं कर रहे ना, आपको probably over the last next 10 years तीन कंपनीज मिनिमम आप स्विच करोगे, राइट? 3 या 4, तो मतलब 4 तो चलो ज्यादा बोल दिया, मे बी 2 कंपनियां तो बेयर मिनिमम स्विच करो, राइट? सो योर एंड अ जॉब इज लाइक it's like marriage. You're going to spend 10 hours every day there, right? So imagine going to an office, going to a place where you're learning every day, where you're becoming better at your skill set, where the chances of you to grow is higher, right? Versus at a place which pays you slightly more money but it's extremely toxic, you are working on a Saturday and a Sunday. This is why job hunting makes you smarter. So what you essentially do is that you prep for that role, right? And then say that how do I approach these 10 companies where my role is the most fitting, and you learn through multiple ways, right? So generally मैंने क्या बोला इसके बाद मैंने बोला प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर के अंदर 5 चीजें देखी जाती हैं, बहुत रेलेवेंट, बहुत ज्यादा रेलेवेंट. पहला, हैज प्रोडक्ट सेंस. कैन एनीबडी टेल मी व्हाट इज प्रोडक्ट सेंस? टू मेक करेक्ट product decisions. And that is correct is the word. Again, focus on words. Correct is the word. The word is not about making product decisions. Product decisions सब होते हैं यार, कुछ भी बना दोगे तो वो product decision ही होगा, right? लेकिन correct product decisions, that is the ability. Second, ठीक है, is smart. What do you mean by is smart? Right? It's a very generic thing that I'm saying, right? Is smart, right? Is smart का मतलब होता है, are you analytical? Like for example, if a lot of times why guesstimates are asked, even consulting interviews में भी guesstimates क्यों पूछे जाते हैं और entry level पे क्यों पूछे जाते हैं? Because as you are senior in your life, right, there are certain proof points you have proved, right? So they are understanding that whether you are smart or not is given by what you have brought to the table, right? But when you are in an entry level role, तो कुछ तो असेसमेंट क्राइटेरिया होना चाहिए ना, जिससे मेरे को ये पता चलेगा ये बंदा सोच पा रहा है कि नहीं सोच पा रहा है. Some assessment criteria should be there, right? And that assessment criteria typically comes on guesstimates. अगर आप एक प्रोडक्ट इंटरव्यू को सच में ब्रेक डाउन करोगे ना, आपको समझ में आएगा ये होता ही क्यों है इस तरीके से, right? That is why it's just one level deep thinking. बस आपको ये सोचना है ये क्यों हो रहा है, मुझसे क्यों प्रोडक्ट सेंस के सवाल पूछे जा रहे हैं. The reason is very simple. If you are not able to identify the user's pain point very well, will you be able to come up with a correct product decision? जब आपको यही नहीं पता दर्द कहाँ हो रही है, तो दवाई किस चीज की दोगे? Right? If you are unable to recognize what's the pain point, will you be able to give anything? राइट? आप बता पाओगे उसको कि कौन सी दवाई खानी है? आपको सिर दर्द हो रही है, आपको कोई पेट दर्द की दवाई दे दे, तो आप बोलो तो वो चलेगी थोड़ी, राइट? That is what I'm trying to tell you, right? That is why it's a very, so what does it tell you? आपके अंदर empathy होनी चाहिए, सुनने की ability होनी चाहिए. You should be someone who is able to probably process information in, look at like the read between the lines. कि कोई बंदा प्रोडक्ट इंटरव्यू में 60 मिनट में आपसे सवाल पूछता है and says, how can you improve this? You should have the innate ability. What you mean by that is general curiosity. कि आपने प्रोडक्ट देखा हो, जैसे व्हाट्सएप आपने देखा है, आपने इतनी बार यूज किया, आपको लिस्ट डाउन करना आना चाहिए कि मुझे क्या दिक्कतें आई और what problems others have faced and prioritize them in 10 minutes. यार कि वो ability आप कैसे डेवलप करोगे? क्योंकि अगर आपने वो चीज कभी की नहीं है पहले, it's not your natural behavior of life, right? Then you will have to practice, and that is how some people do enormously well in product interviews and some people don't. और उसका जनरल तरीका क्या होता है? जनरल तरीका यही होता है, incorporate these learnings in your daily life. जैसे एक बहुत ही नोटिसेबल जो बिहेवियर है कि अगर आप जब आप YouTube लाइव करते हो, वहां पे you see tons of engagement in the chat, but not very engagement when I'm asking questions. ये भी तो एक डिफरेंस है ना. डिफरेंस ऑफ, आप किसी भी वजह से, चाहे आपको डर लग रहा है या जो भी लग रहा है, आपको लग रहा है कि मैं कोई, you will be on the spot or whatever that reason is, right? It is an ability to dissect that across कि इसका रीजन क्या हो सकता है, right? And that is what product sense allows you to do. आप सोचो यही चीज आपको एक प्रोडक्ट इंटरव्यू में 60 मिनट्स में करनी है. Look at a problem, break down that problem, prioritize that across, suggest solutions, measure them. इस चीज के लिए आपको तो प्रैक्टिस ही करनी पड़ेगी, और कोई तरीका ही नहीं है. There is no other way, right? ठीक है, पहला. Second is smart. Third, the ability to get things done. What it means by that is, you don't just say there should be enough proof points in your resume to essentially prove that you took a product from problem to execution, right? That is an ability that should, and typically what happens is somebody who has done such a project, when he's asked process led questions, how did you build this process when people were against you, he or she will have very deep answers. ये अगर आपने सच में काम किया है. अगर आपने सच में काम नहीं किया तो ऊपर से बोल दोगे. जैसे lot of times when you go to e-commerce PM interviews, they typically ask you this question, how do you handle refunds as a metric? How do you essentially decrease them, right? अब कोई बंदा जो होगा वो बहुत बेसिक चीजें बोल देगा कि यार कि ऐसे, तो उसी से पता लग जाता है कि सरफेस लेवल थिंकिंग की, कि आपने कभी लास्ट माइल रिफंड्स हैंडल ही नहीं किए, right? A person who has handled such a thing or at least researched about the industry will be able to understand what happens to the take rate when a refund is given, right? Who bears the PG cost, who bears these things, right? And what if the quality is broken and there's a dispute, what will happen then, right? So there are tons of reasons the person can give across, and that is the ability to get things done. So, and it is not just limited to product interviews. आप एक टेस्टर हो, प्रोग्राम मैनेजर हो, प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर हो, प्रोडक्ट ओनर हो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, राइट? इफ यू आर नॉट डिटेल्ड एंड थरो एंड यू नो द नुक्स एंड क्रीवाइसेस ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट यू हैव डन, आपको कोई प्रोडक्ट थिंकिंग में महारत नहीं बोलेगा आपको. इट विल नॉट, नोबडी विल से दैट यू आर अ गुड प्रोडक्ट थिंकर. फोर्थ इज द कल्चर फिट. हाउ डू यू कंडक्ट योरसेल्फ, राइट? इफ यू डोंट नो हाउ डू यू कंडक्ट योरसेल्फ इन अ प्रोडक्ट इंटरव्यू, most communication in product interview is non-verbal. क्या आप पैनिक कर रहे हो? क्या आप किस तरीके से प्रेजेंट कर रहे हो? क्या आप स्ट्रक्चर्ड तरीके से बात कर रहे हो? क्या आप स्टैमर कर रहे हो? आप किन चीजों की बात कर रहे हो? Like for example, if I ask a question, hey dude, you were fairly successful in this particular product that you built and you scaled it to 10 million users. Amazing, right? Can you tell me how did you do that? There is one person who ends up saying, oh, I had a very competent team of people. We made a very structured plan. And I think I'm super grateful to the kind of people around me. They helped me scale this. Now, what it shows the person is showing gratitude to other people and is empathetic and behaviorally driven, that it's the team that brought that dynamic across. Another person would say, oh, I thought of this crazy idea and this crazy idea was so revolutionary. I worked on this and I executed this and the entire team was supportive in X number of ways, but it was my sharpness that essentially brought me across. And it is then and there a red flag for a cultural organization, right? Microsoft might not really, and you might not even notice while you are saying this, that this is what I said, right? And that is why people prepare very consciously, understand. Like when you go for Amazon, typically people think of a bar raiser round. So there are certain Amazonic principles that you will have to behave on. And that will be a very strong testament that whether this person is a fit or not. Believe me, people underestimate this. Typically they think there is an HR round at the end when culture is assessed. Don't think like that. That's the wrongest way to think about things. It is taken all the 4 interviews that will happen now. Everybody will give an assessment of whether this person was a fit or not, right? So it is about you conducting yourself in a very meaningful way. That is why becoming empathetic, becoming a good listener, becoming patient, right? Don't getting fettered in an interview. These are all meaningful and you need to practice consistently about that. Okay, last, आपके पास technical skills, and here technical skills, I'm not talking about just tech skills, I'm talking about functional domain expertise also. That is the encompassing behavior, that whether you have functional tech knowledge and the functional domain knowledge, very helpful. मैं एक और चीज आपको बताता हूँ. Product managers are only hired in 2 ways, right? When you have principalic depth or you have functional depth. If you have both, amazing. Well, rarely it is found. What is principalic depth? Principalic depth means you are a general systems thinker. What I mean by that is, if I give Chinmay a hacksaw, he can do n number of things with that hacksaw. He can cut a tree, he can cut something else, right? He can do. So it's a general systems behavior that it was a tool with him. So if you're generally good at product sense, better than others, but in product execution, in design thinking, right? In these skill sets, then you can switch across industries. People will be super happy because they know that functional knowledge you will acquire in 2-3 months. It's not a really big deal because you are generally sharp. And that's why you see good leaders, right? They cut across industries. I've had friends who've gone from travel to SaaS to fintech to edtech to bunch of such industries. Like my last boss, one of my bosses, he worked for Practo, which you remember there used to be this thing called Practo long back, right? Where you used to do doctors. I hope a lot of people. So first he worked for Practo, then he worked for Paytm, which is a fintech, right? He was the VP product for Paytm Money. And post that he joined Byju's EdTech. And now he's doing something in the NGO space, which is the Vadhwani Foundation. Because the product skill set is very sharp, is very good. So to jump across domains is an easy thing. But reality is otherwise. Your product skills are poor, right? And that is why a fintech bank typically says, if you have worked 8 years in fintech, please join, because they know that functional depth is not there or thinking depth is not there. So at least they, by the sheer bent on doing it for so long, right, they will be good at it. Like if you have worked in a bank for 8 years, you will be good at it, right? And that is why this question कि भैया fintech वाले तो लेते ही नहीं है, वो तो बोलते 5 साल fintech का experience होना चाहिए, right? So how do I essentially join? तो ये क्वेश्चन भी बहुत रेलेवेंट है. कमिंग बैक, राइट? सो हमने लास्ट टाइम ये सारी चीजें बात की, ठीक है? तो हमने कहा एक अच्छा पीएम वो होता है जिसके पास प्रोडक्ट सेंस है, जो स्मार्ट है, जो गेट्स थिंग्स डन, इज अ कल्चर फिट एंड हैज टेक्निकल स्किल्स. अब उसके आपके रीजंस भी पता है आपको कि मैं क्यों होता है ऐसा, ठीक है? अब हाउ डू यू सर्च? व्हाट इज द बेस्ट प्लेस? सबसे पहले ना आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट आपके लिए एंटेल क्या करता है, राइट? ये जो व्यू है ना प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट का, ये एक बहुत एक्सीलेंट प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर का व्यू है. इट इज नॉट अ व्यू फॉर समबडी हु होल्ड्स अ पीएम टाइटल, राइट? अगर आप उसके साथ एक एक्सीलेंट वर्ड ऐड हो रहा है कि ही इज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट पीएम्स, उसके लिए बिल्कुल सही व्यू है. हाईली कॉम्पनसेटेड, विजनरी, लीडर, अंडरस्टैंड्स बिजनेस स्किल्स, probably is future CEO, right? A generalist, right? Mom is impressed, face of the product, everything, right? This is the general view of a general PM. Reality: angry customers, your project's not working, incompetent people, buggy products, koi authority nahi, it's hippo, right? you are sales driven culture, high level boss. This is reality. This is not. So that is why आप क्या एस्पायर करना चाहते हो? पिक्चर 1 करना है या पिक्चर 2 करना है? ये बताओ. 1 or 1 या 2 can people write? Do you are you in the game for 1 or are you in the game for 2? Sorted. तो यार सबसे पहले तो आपको ये करना चाहिए, 7-8 प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर से तो बात करनी चाहिए, राइट? एक व्यू मेरा है, उसी तरह आपको दूसरे लोगों का भी व्यू मिलेगा, कि क्योंकि 2 से 1 जाना ना इज अ जर्नी. It will not, you will always end up going into 2 first, right? And then through your prowess, through your skill set, through your depth of thought, through your execution ability, you'll reach here. मैं आपको एक बात बताना चाहता हूं. मैं today all of you are sitting here, ठीक है, whatever the number is, right? Do you really think if somebody has to figure out what I've done in my life, what Shravan has done in his life, he has to come and speak to me? Not really. There's enough things on the internet, enough places, enough conversations, enough proof, right? So when they will come to me, they will always come to me with a one view. कि सर ये है वर्टिकल, आपको ये वर्टिकल लीड करना है, आपको पैसे कितने चाहिए सर ये बताओ, और वो देखेंगे हाँ मैं अलाइन करता हूँ क्या, डू आई रियली लाइक द प्रोडक्ट, डू आई अलाइन well enough with their product strategy so that it is meaningful for them, right? Ittai, that will be what will be judged, right? But for most people, it is what here they will feel, they will test with you scenarios. Yaar ye hua to kya karoge? Let's assume there's a project which got shelved off after a month and your entire team was working 14 hours every day on that project. They did not even sleep weekends, but one fine day the CEO came and said probably doesn't make sense, right? Let's shelve it off. How will you handle your team? Will you go and tell them just because the CEO said? They will say what the hell were you doing if you were unclear, right? तो इसीलिए ये रोल जो है ना बहुत एंटरप्राइजिंग है. इट इज अ हाई रिस्क हाई रिवॉर्ड रोल, राइट? बिकॉज इट डिमांड्स टिपिकली अदर रोल्स, people are very comfortable with patterns. It's an anti-pattern role. The problem is that people are very accustomed with patterns कि मैं ये करता हूं तो मैं यही करूंगा, राइट? अगर मुझे अपने स्टैंड अप को, अपनी मीटिंग को इस तरह गवर्न करने की आदत है, अगर मैं पीपीटी ऐसे बनाता हूं तो मैं ऐसे ही बनाऊंगा, राइट? अगर मेरा रोल है सुबह उठ के अपनी टीम से बात करना, ये करना, मैं उस change is always uncomfortable to people, and unfortunately this role brings changes every single day. So if you are discomforted by ambiguity, discomforted by the fact that you will have to lead, discomforted by the fact that you will have to leave your comfort zone, मत करो. कोई पॉइंट नहीं है, पॉइंटलेस चीज है. जीवन में अच्छा बनना इंपॉर्टेंट है, टाइटल पे चीजें बनना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं, राइट? इसीलिए मैं ये बात बहुत क्लियरली बोल रहा हूं. दिस इज अ वेरी important thing that you have to be very comfortable with, because there are only few roles which operate in ambiguous territory, right? It's a product role, it's a marketing role to a certain level, because if you have to really be creative there and understand that what is the new nuance that I want to bring across, it's the general business role which is very ambiguous. But most roles are like boxed or compartmentalized into like areas, JDs, and that's why most enterprise companies, they know what they lack is this space up with volume. That's why they hire so many people. They don't. And on the contrary, great product companies, what do? They hire few people, but they hire extremely talented people who can do these things. So दो views हैं, मैं फिर बताता हूं, मैं I'll just put sheets. ठीक है, ये भी आपके लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट समझना. So there are two ways. See, there is a large company which essentially means a large system. Essentially means a large system. So practically any decision of that system or product is going to affect a lot of people. Does that make sense? It's a large system. Maruti का production line फट गया तो कितनी गाड़ियां जाएंगी? A lot of people, right? Now, any such decision, एक बार इसको थोड़ा सा ना, let me make this, let me just do this, ज़्यादा better रहेगा. Sorted, ठीक है? Make sense? Now, if it's going to affect it across, so any decision will be a function of tens of decisions in different areas, in different domains. Okay? Which essentially means अगर आपको एक प्रोडक्ट रिलीज करना है तो आपको सेल्स भी करनी है, आपको मार्केटिंग भी करनी है, आपको प्लान भी बनाना है डिमांड का, आपको जीटीएम भी करना है, आपको प्रोडक्ट थिंकिंग भी करनी है, आपको प्रोडक्ट सेंस भी होनी चाहिए, आपके पास कस्टमर एक्सपीरियंस भी होना चाहिए, आपके पास उसके बाद मेजरिंग कैपेबिलिटी भी होनी चाहिए। अब इसको करने के दो तरीके हैं. देयर आर टू वेज टू डू दिस. ईदर यू हायर 10 पीपल for each of the jobs, for each of the jobs, and you hire 10 average PMs, PMs or salespeople or whatever you want to say, average employees. Or there is another way. Okay. The other way is hire one exceptional PM who is driven deeply into principles, thinks in a meaningful way, right? अब क्या होता है जब मार्केट साइकिल्स फटते हैं? सबसे पहले 10 लोग फायर होते हैं, सबसे पहले. क्यों? They were simplists, they were not very good, they were just a node, an irrelevant node, right? इसीलिए आप देखते हो when market cycles have a lot of funding, companies just hire. They say that okay, at least we'll keep them from a certain pedigree and we'll figure out in 6 months that whether what kind of role that they have to do, right? On the contrary, the companies which are super lean, right, like Postman is an $8 billion company with 50 engineers. Damn. Like Zoom, when it became like a $500 million company, they had 200 engineers. मतलब जब वो $500 million कंपनी बन चुकी थी, अब तो शायद maybe they have 1,000 people, but still to run a $20 billion enterprise for 1,000 people. On the contrary, let me put a reflective parallel to this, right? Look at SBI. 40 बिलियन की कंपनी है, कितने लोग हैं? It's one of the largest employers in the country. I am not saying, but उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी थोड़ी अलग है. They obviously have to hire, they are a government bank, and ठीक है, but still अगर आप कॉम्पिटेंस टू कॉम्पिटेंस, लाइक टू लाइक करोगे ना, अगर आप सिर्फ कॉम्पिटेंट वाली चीज पकड़ोगे ना, आई थिंक दे विल बी एबल टू डू एट 120th द स्टफ. सो दे हैव अ नेशनल अथॉरिटी है, उनकी नेशनल ड्यूटी भी है कुछ लेवल तक, तो इसीलिए दे हैव टू हायर अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल, दे आल्सो हैव टू जनरेट एम्प्लॉयमेंट दैट वे. वो सारी चीजें ठीक है, लेकिन सिर्फ आप, दैट्स व्हाई यू सी इवन एसबीआई हैज वेरी स्पेशल kind of PM programs. I've met PMs at SBI who have gone through from different IIMs. They also go to like tier 2 IIMs and other places to hire PMs and say that we will hire, and they are typically state studded. Belapur branch, their Mumbai branch, that which is where there is their national headquarters है, वहां से काम होता है काफी कुछ. That's why they also brought digital transformation. So that is the reason आज आपको डिफिकल्टी हो रही है अगर आप इस रोल को क्रैक नहीं कर पा रहे, कोई आपके इंटरव्यू को वो नहीं कर रहा, क्योंकि today is not the time when essentially there will people will experiment with 10. If they need 5 people or 7 people, they don't, they need one good person, because they know most specialist roles are going to get automated. That's going to happen. It is the only the generalist mindsets that you can own the entire consumer experience that's going to be relevant in the future. Because why are we moving towards AGI, आर्टिफिशियल जनरल इंटेलिजेंस? क्योंकि स्पेशलिस्ट रोल्स में तो एनीवे इट हैज बिकम बेटर. इन 90% स्पेशलिस्ट रोल्स इट कैन फ्रेम अ better email for you. AI, it can do all small things. Only thing it's not good at is generalist roles, which is still like 20 years away, or maybe 15-20 years away. And that's why generalists are who thrive, and that's why product managers are generalists, and that's why this role is enterprising. So going forward, the number of average PMs is going to plummet like anything. It's not needed. It will be, AI will become that good. The only reason people will hire you in highly compensated roles is when you are really a generalist thinker and you're able to look at large macro product problems and solve them, right? और इसीलिए आज से ही डेप्थ बनाना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. ठीक है, अब ये बात क्लियर है कि पीएम रोल आगे रेलेवेंट होगा कि नहीं होगा? इट विल ऑलवेज बी रेलेवेंट. it's not even, it was not even called product management. This role always existed. It's just a strategic role where strategy plus execution both work together, right? That is typically what happens is people split them out. They take strategy one side, they take execution the other side. Typically for a PM, it's both things. It's like the two legs. Do your discovery, do your strategy properly, and then execute. If you miss any of these two legs, you're not a good PM. So get shit. That's why the gets things done or gets shit done, right? ये वाला attitude होता है, right? That's why people are agile. That's why most PMs, they know that we will never be like being perfectionist होने से अच्छा optimal होना अच्छा है. बहुत बहुत अच्छी बात. ऑप्टिमल का क्या मतलब होता है? आपने एक रेज्यूमे बनाया, मेक अ वर्जन ऑफ योर रेज्यूमे एंड टेक इट एंड अप्लाई इट फॉर 3 places. If you fail, change, see what you can learn. What do we know, what do we learn? ये गो गोवा गॉन का एक डायलॉग है. What do we know, what do we learn, what did we learn? तो आपको भी बेसिकली ऐसे ही सोचना है अपने करियर के बारे में. ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं. ठीक है, चलो, बहुत बढ़िया. तो हम आज का सेशन, थोड़ा कॉन्टेक्स्ट दिया मैंने आपको. अब मैं आज के सेशन में आपसे बात करता हूँ. ये सारी चीजें आगे चलते हैं, आगे चलते हैं. ठीक है, श्योर. ठीक है, कूल. सो टिपिकली अगर आपको अब स्टैंड आउट करना है अपनी प्रोफाइल के लिए, सो द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट आई रिकमेंड मोस्ट पीपल इज दैट हैव अ सेंस ऑफ हाउ डू यू बिल्ड समथिंग कॉल्ड अ प्री इंटरव्यू असाइनमेंट. Right? What I mean by that is, so I already told you, this funnel approach to career doesn't work. That you apply at 100 places, then 10 will call you, then 2 will shortlist you, and then you'll talk. And I think there is a better way to do things, right? And this has worked for me a lot. What you typically do is you first focus, and nowadays LinkedIn profile, earlier it used to be resume, you tailor your resume, you make like 3-4 versions of your resume, figuring out the persona of companies that you typically want to join, right? Now there are 3 types that I used to decode. There used to be like a tier 3 company, right? Where I used to say that even if I go, even if I fail the interview, I would not feel that bad. ठीक है, मतलब मैं बस ट्राई करना चाहता था अपने जीवन में, राइट? एंड यू अप्लाई. उनके लिए आप कोई दिमाग नहीं लगाते, उनके लिए आप एक सिर्फ ढंग का रेज्यूमे बनाते हो और अप्लाई करते रहते हो. बट आपको पता है कि ये कंपनी आप इन नेचुरल सर्कमस्टांसेस कभी ज्वाइन नहीं करोगे. इट्स जस्ट टू टेस्ट योरसेल्फ आउट. Then there is a tier 2 company, which I typically say. What is a tier 2 company? It is companies which you respect and admire, right? But they're not your dream companies, right? It's a good company. You will be happily, you will work there, right? And that is typically companies like for me, like if I would say Razorpay is a tier 2 company probably for me, right? Where I would say that, oh, it's a nice company. Like it's a nice place. They build good products. What you typically do for that company is very simple, right? You go one level higher. So think of it like this framework. So I will make a small framework for you. That will be a very simple way of doing it, right? So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. ठीक है, make sense? यहाँ पे जो भी आपको लिखना है, यहाँ पे रेज्यूमे, ठीक है, रेज्यूमे, LinkedIn, portfolio, pre-interview assignment, time spent on industry plus interviewer research. ठीक है. अब आपके पास जब भी आपकी कोई भी कंपनी इसमें फॉल करती है, राइट? टियर 3 कंपनी आपको पता है, इसमें आप बहुत फाइट नहीं मारोगे. कहने का क्या मतलब है? यहाँ पे यू मेक अ रेज्यूमे विच इज टेलर्ड टू दैट इंडस्ट्री एंड यू प्रिपेयर अ लिटिल बिट फॉर इट. मतलब प्रेपरेशन इज अ पैरेलल थिंग. प्रेपरेशन इसके लिए भी yes ही है, because you will still prepare, you will do your maths. Like it's like you prepared for IIT JEE, but you ended up giving KCET, Karnataka CET, and you just want to go there, and you know that you'll do well, right? So you already prepared for it, right? Makes sense. But you would not spend infinite amount of time on their company, on who are there, unless and until they give you an offer, and then you have to check for culture and whatever. But you will not do that. You will say that this is my backup thing. Even if I fail, I get it's like a feedback loop for me. Then you go to tier 2 companies, right? Like for example, if I write Razorpay here, okay? I'll make a very good resume for them where I will understand what is the JD demand, because I know this company has focused on the JD because it's a product led company. The tier 3 company will write a very generic JD. तो आपको भी पता है कि वहां पे मुझे क्या करना है, वहां मुझे एक रेज्यूमे बनाना है. There they will ask, do you have UPI experience? If you don't have UPI experience, have you done something like a parallel product around that? Have you worked in the credit cards ecosystem? Things like that, right? They will mention that across. So you make a very tailored resume for that, right? You also optimize your LinkedIn for it, right? So if you really want to go to a tier 2 company, write fintech, start writing fintech content, and it can be very simple also. You can talk about how UPI is scaling, right? How different products have built. You don't have to write technical stuff like कि NBFCs कैसे काम करते हैं, ये workflows, ये सब नहीं लिखना. अगर आप generic insight भी दे सकते हो ना, तो इससे क्या होगा? When you start writing on LinkedIn, it is like SEO. It's not going to happen in 2 days, 3 days. You do it for a month, people will start noticing your content, right? And then there comes like an opening in Razorpay. Then when you apply, even out of those 500 resumes, the person will be able to figure out, अरे यार इसको तो देखा है. अगर मैं एग्जांपल देता हूं, मान लो आज लिंक्डइन पे अप्लाई करता हूं, मैं पहले एप्लीकेंट्स में से हूं, बहुत लाइकली चांस है कि एटलीस्ट मेरे से वो बात करेंगे, क्योंकि वो जैसे ही मेरा रेज्यूमे या कुछ भी देखेंगे, वो मेरी प्रोफाइल ही देखेंगे, वो बोलेंगे यार इस बंदे को तो जानते हैं, इस बंदे को तो जानते हैं, राइट? Or typically what you do this thing, that what I said. You typically do a pre-interview assignment, and it typically ये APM, PM roles, SPM roles तक भी काम करता है. What I mean by that is, you pick up one problem. What is the major thing that the company is talking about? What do they wish to solve? Right? Like for example, speed is a very big indicator because now quick commerce is practically eating digital commerce, at least here, right? It's doing that, right? And that's why you see quick commerce margins are like very high because they can make frequent trips, right? I'll give you a very good hack, and this is a reality hack. If you really want to learn how to walk like 15,000 steps or X number of steps, right? Doing frequent short trips is a way faster way or way easier way than doing long trips of like 4 kilometers, 4 kilometers. It is very similar here also, right? So what I essentially mean by that is, and that is the reason people are hiring, and you see Zepto hiring a lot of PMs, like other people hiring a lot of PMs, right? Blinkit was recently hiring a lot of PMs. The reason is so you pick up that one problem and say, okay, fair enough. So this is what I understand about the business. This is one flow which I think is meaningful, and you actually solve the problem and you actually build a PRD around it. And if no recruiters post it on LinkedIn for all you care, believe me, it is such a nice way. But do you think it will work once? No, you have to do it. Maybe you have to do 5 assignments, 7 assignments over a period of time. And do you know what will happen? While you are preparing for these companies and picking up the right problem which you feel is relevant, you are practically making your portfolio also. It automatically gets made, right? But you have to spend 7 days on a problem. You have to think. And what you do is that when you apply, typically they also ask you, can you put additional documents and things like that, whatever you wish to. You probably put your assignment over there. Or if you know the recruiter's email, you send it across and say that this is what I did. I think this is super meaningful. This is what I put across. Now what happens? If they take interest in your assignment, it is their relevant problem, which you picked up, right? Second, not only they have your resume, they also have a way of looking at how Chinmay thinks, even if they spend time. So your standing out percentage goes up, right? But it will not happen like if you think that, oh, one fine day, oh, Shravan Bhaiya told me and I'll make an assignment in 2 hours and give it across. No, it will not work. There has to have depth, right? So if you look at like Uber's and other products assignments now, typically people with good product sense, they make like a very detailed deck. Why does it work, right? They think of and they present it in a very meaningful way, but they also talk about very delightfully insightful experience so that the deck looks profound and says, oh wow, makes sense. And how will that happen? Again, it still comes with consistency, practice. And that's why if you really want to go to a tier 2 company, you should make like a pathway for the next 3-4 months. ये 3-4 महीने में मेरे को उसके बाद होती है tier 1 company, like Google, like Microsoft, like Netflix, like Apple, for all like इन कंपनीज के लिए बहुत बच्चे मेरे पास आते हैं कि भैया मैं गूगल जाना चाहता हूं, क्या करूं, right? 2 ways, bro. Either your pedigree stands out so that they take you as an APM, You are somebody who is done from IMA, or probably somebody who's IIT Bombay Computer Science, or some standout patent you have. You are a national something, some interesting thing that really stands out is your X factor, or else it is a plan of 2 years. It's not something. People who typically tell you that you will be able to crack FANG interviews, they will not tell you that there is a shortlisting process also there, right? ये भी तो समझना है. They will not, unless and until you have a referral, you know someone deeply inside who can vouch for you and do things like that. But that's not possible for everybody. So just by doing interview practice does not necessarily mean that you will get that shortlist, right? And the sheer reason that after such programs, when you don't get a shortlist for 6 months, you even lose the practice of doing interviews also, and then you are back to square one. Back to square one. That is what happens. So the philosophy is, don't think of it like that. Think of it कि मेरे को सर जाना है 2 साल में गूगल, सही बात है, लेकिन पहले कहाँ जाऊं? Take a step. Think of your career as a stepped manner. Like, think slightly long term, right? Go to Razorpay. Razorpay से जाओगे Swiggy जाओ. Swiggy, because you are working with high quality talented people, you are becoming better. Eventually, when these two names will be on your resume, why would Google not want to talk to you? It will talk to you, and it will give you that opportunity. So you do something like a pre-interview assignment, right? And you pick up one problem, right? And you essentially say, I want to. And how do you do it? You probably go to YouTube, check out my video on how do you make a detailed PRD. What do you think about? Spend some time, do your discovery, get the material from the internet. What have they recently released? What's their product philosophy? What has their founders said, right? What type of reviews the customers are putting across? And you make a very profound solution around it. Take 3-4 days and send it across. When your work will showcase across, oh wow, this is a very well thought thing, they will automatically bring you in. So that's a very, very, very good way of doing it, right? Next, right? It tells two things to the interviewer, right? At least, what does it do for you? It tells two things. The first thing it does is, oh, this person is genuinely driven. बोला भी नहीं फिर भी बना के दिया. Passionate तो है बंदा, समझ में आ रही है बात. दूसरी चीज, right? It shows that it gives you the proof point of, oh, he gets shit done before even saying it. एक point tick हो गया automatically interview में, right? But it takes time. Again, अगर आप इसको हैक की तरह सोचोगे कि नहीं यार, the world doesn't need, मैं तभी आपको बोलता हूं, अगर प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट सच में पढ़नी है ना, अगर सच में सीखनी है, तो यार इसको प्लीज फ्रेमवर्काइज मत करो. इट्स अ क्राफ्ट ऑफ थिंकिंग. उसी को अप्रिशिएट नहीं करोगे तो फिर फ्रेमवर्क्स विल नॉट हेल्प. तो इसीलिए ये बात आपको आज समझनी, ठीक है? तो दिस इज वन वे. आगे चलते हैं. अब आते हैं हम रेज्यूमे पे, ठीक है? आई थिंक द मोस्ट, ये मैंने वीडियो ऑलरेडी किया हुआ है कुछ साल पहले. मैं 2-3 चीजें क्लैरिफाई कर देता हूं. मैंने एक चीज तो ऑफ द बैट बोल दी है कि अगर आपको, इफ यू वांट टू बिकम अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर एनीवेयर, देन मेक योर रेज्यूमे अकॉर्डिंग टू ATS. कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. फिर वो क्योंकि आप खुद ही चूज कर रहे हो कि मुझे कहां काम करना है, वेयर डू आई वांट टू वर्क. इट्स अ चॉइस दैट यू आर मेकिंग. So if a company who, for such an enterprising role as a product manager, is choosing ATS to essentially have their own pura process, that means they don't have a very enterprising product culture. Well, it's a signal. There might be exceptions, 1 or 2 exceptions to it, but at most places, we are not talking about exceptions here. We're talking about statistically significant numbers, right? So at most places, so this is not a explicit philosophy. आप ATS का resume, वो मेरा goal नहीं है यहाँ. That's not what I'm going to talk about here. ठीक है? आगे चलते हैं. ठीक. So the first thing that you want to kind of put across is that a PM resume is all about actionable points for the end user. Actionable points for the end user, right? Most people make this mistake that what they end up doing is they write 2-3 things. One, they put a very jargonous thing. The more jargons, the more clarity is lost from the statement. It is done that. Second cheese, it is not well directed towards the user. Most people say, भैया मैं तो एक QA था, or maybe I was a marketer for 10 years. I don't have PM experience. What will I write? Bro, you worked for the user. You did something for the user, right? And if you're not able to translate what it happened for the user, you don't have that mindset. Any kind of experience can be tailored to show that you have product thinking. Any kind of resume. Like, for example, in most resumes, I see things like this. A visionary product management executive with vast strategic experience driving operational efficiencies at Fortune 100 companies with C-level visibility. इसका क्या मतलब है? It has zero meaning. इसका कुछ मतलब ही नहीं है. On the contrary, you can fundamentally write things like, I have 5 years of product building enterprise monitoring products, right? Such as companies like IBM, HP, Applied Materials, or whatever. Products that have generated 200 million in revenue, right? Very clear objective heading कि मैं कौन हूं. मैंने 5 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है सर मेरे पास. मैं एंटरप्राइज मॉनिटरिंग प्रोडक्ट्स बनाता हूं. That's how deep it is, right? That I'm building products like PagerDuty, like Logly, right? Those kind of products, right? I am building things at which companies? IBM, HP. आप वहां पे जाके हमारे मॉनिटरिंग प्रोडक्ट देख भी सकते हो कि क्या है हमारे. और सबसे बड़ी बात, these products have generated 200. Now that's why this is the strategic leadership experience that I want to put across. For a fresher, it can be as simple as, it can be an enthusiastic freshman in 4th year. Like, I am an enthusiastic freshman in 4th year of college, interested in product management and building user-centric products, led the college fest community to drive 3 online events with 500 plus in participation and drove revenue of 20 lakhs. Very clear thing that who you are. And if you are not able to write this across, it's a red flag. ठीक है. सेकेंड चीज जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज होती है उसे बोलते हैं एक्सपीरियंस, राइट? Don't write about everything and everything that you did, right? Maximum last 3 experiences, not more than that. Because उससे पहले की चीजों आप खुद ही भूल जाओगे. 3 experiences basically means 3-4 years at least, right? 4 साल पुरानी चीज तो आपको खुद ही याद नहीं रहेगी. आप खुद ही भूल चुके होगे कि आपने क्या किया वहां पे. Right? So, and only 3 things should be there. 1, what was the product? 2nd, why was it special? 3rd, key challenges you overcame. Right? What was the product? 2nd, why was it special? What is the impact that happened and how did you solve it? What impact? Like when I was working for Byju's, I used to write, led the live class platform for live learning for kids, right? It was, anybody can search that across. Drove, what was the impact? Drove personalized 1 to 25 classes products to over 100K students a day, right? 3rd, what was the key challenge? Work on a strategy to drive student to student relationship, student to tutor relationship at scale, right? आप इस तरह की, आपको 3 ही चीजें लिखनी होती हैं. What was my product? What was the product doing, right? 2nd, why was it special? What kind of impact that it had? 3rd, अब lot of people से हमने revenue पे काम नहीं किया. अगर आपने revenue पे काम नहीं किया, आपने प्रोसेस पे काम किया, आपने कॉस्ट तो बचाई, एफिशिएंसी तो लाई. आप किसी भी चीज को ट्रांसलेट कर सकते हो इनटू अ रेवेन्यू मेट्रिक, किसी भी चीज को. इट इज इवन इफ यू मेक अ साइट मैप in your website, then also you can say more traffic came, more traffic की वजह से इतना कन्वर्जन था और इसकी वजह से. और अगर आपके पास रेवेन्यू नंबर्स नहीं है तो यूजर के नंबर्स होंगे ना, सेटिस्फैक्शन के नंबर्स होंगे ना. एनीथिंग दैट शोज एंड टॉक्स अबाउट better user experience or business implications, right? That is the resume. Because I want to understand how good of an impact and what kind of problems did you solve as a product manager for the end user, which is a tied thing. The end user can be B2B, it can be B2C, it can be anything, but it can be, right? तो आपको यही 3 चीजें करनी होती है. और मैं इसका एक एग्जांपल भी भेज दूंगा आपके पास, right? What should be the resume strategy for something who is experienced but doesn't? Wahi bola maine. So Shrikar, that's what I'm saying. Pick up anything. Like for example, if Shrikar, if you have built an engineering product, talk about the efficiency that it led for the company, that led for the product, or led for the user in the core space. Like for example, if you are working as a incident manager for an incident resolution platform, right? You can practically say that we scaled down incident latency by 300%, which essentially helped in customer retention, right? ये कर सकते हो आप. Or you can say, or there, so what you essentially have to do, you have to pick up, put your resume experience, right? Go to specifically understand, mention your user outcomes, look at the outcomes that happened. कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट हमने किया होगा, कुछ तो आउटकम होगा उसका, अच्छा था या खराब था, something happened, right? List down those outcomes and then marry them and say, how did it lead to that outcome? That is exactly how it works. If in a product interview, on the contrary, log kya likhte hain? Like people write, improved the API latency by 300 seconds. लेकिन क्या हुआ उससे? What happened? What happened because of that API latency? वो तो लिखता ही नहीं कोई. What was the impact, right? Or you say, increased handled budget of 12 crores in marketing. It doesn't show anything. It's great that you handled a budget of 12 crores, but what did it do? Right? Makes sense. आगे चलते हैं. There is another thing that people typically miss, and a lot of people do it. A lot of people consciously do it. A lot of people subconsciously do it. There has to be something called an achievement section, right? Why achievement section? Because achievements are curiosity points. They are where, like, if Chinmay comes and Chinmay says, "Oh, I do beatboxing, Shravan." Oh, beatboxing, very cool, man. Very, very cool. So next time, if I have to call, oh, that beatboxer, very nice, very cool. So achievement section is what sets you unique, right? Says it's a remembering point. I remember, like for me, a lot of times when I go into interviews and I crack a funny joke or something like that, and that funny guy. That funny. Well, obviously, it has to have a certain amount of dignity and respect. You don't break the decorum of the room, but when you be witty, when you're sharp, so somebody might remember, oh, he's that witty guy. That witty guy that essentially interviewed with us. Like, for example, I mentioned this across. So I won a Uber bounty of $5,000 by Uber. Right now, that's a very interesting story point. And being a non-technical guy as a product manager, just because he was curious, how did he essentially win $5,000? Right? Or I typically say that I went to Kalari Capital, I went to Kaufman Fellows, right? Things like that, which are very interesting, unique peak points where people remember, oh, this is that guy, right? So this also helps you lighten the tone of the interview. A lot of times when people go through, because the first 1 minute they will glance through the resume once, ki kya kiya hai. And if this sticks out, right, 100% they will ask you something, and this is a place which you have done and you can drive the interview that way and you can bring uniqueness to it, right? So mention your achievement points. अब obviously don't go like 10 years back कि मैं काफी लोग लिखते मेरे 10th में 98% थे, वो ठीक है यार, वो हो गया, मतलब उतने पीछे की बात नहीं. Something interesting that you might be a boxer, you might something that you feel that you're good at, right? And you've done something which you find as an accomplishment in your life. Don't go that back like 6th class में मैंने एग्जाम दिया था, उसमें मेरी रैंक ये आई थी, तो वो नहीं. Don't do those things. But yeah, in your professional career, maybe you're like, I was employee of the year for like 3 companies, right? That's a very good achievement point. Like people say that it's a validation, right? He's a smart guy, right? वैसे करके सी, ठीक है? So I think this is a very important. कितने लोग हैं जो एजुकेशन ऐसे लिखते हैं? What I mean by this is, again, आपको भी एजुकेशन को थोड़ा सा डिटेल में लिखना चाहिए कि आपने जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल कुछ भी लिखा है, आपने लिखा मैं कहीं से एमबीए किया हूं, अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स मेंशन करो, ठीक है? रिसीव्ड अ 4.0 जीपीए एवरेज अक्रॉस मार्केटिंग क्लासेस, एक्सेल्ड इन यूएक्स एंड लीडरशिप क्लासेस. मतलब ये आपको अपने कुछ सेलिएंट पॉइंट्स जो आप, क्योंकि रेज्यूमे एक ही बार उस पर नजर पड़ेगी एक बार. व्हाट स्टैंड्स आउट इज व्हाट विल बी रिमेंबर्ड. If it does, it's like your asynchronous elevator pitch. एलिवेटर पिच में क्या होता है? आप एक एलिवेटर में जाते हो, 60 सेकंड वहां पे बैठते हो और वहां पे चीजें करते हो, राइट? इट्स योर एसिंक्रोनस एलिवेटर पिच, राइट? दिस इज ऑल्सो अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सेक्शन, ठीक है? स्किल्स कभी भी ऐसे मत लिखो. ये जो तरीका होता है प्रोडक्ट में, लीडरशिप, कम्युनिकेशन, rather mention and rate yourself on your skills, where you're good at, and probably also give some justification that probably I'm good at UI. एक लाइन नीचे लिख दो UI के नीचे, because I improved the conversion rate by 25%, right? और आप अपने आप को 8 out of 10 rate करो. This is a very, very good way where you're self rating, so that people also understand that you have a self assessment criteria where you're good at and where you're not good at, right? And that is a very meaningful thing. Most people are unfortunately very extremely wrong about what they are good at and what they are not, right? So don't just write it for the heck of writing it. Nobody reads it that way, right? ये बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. अब एक और चीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है जिसको हम बोलते हैं resume industry and scope research, right? There are two kinds of research. Now let's assume you made your resume, you did everything and you got a shortlist. अब किसी भी कंपनी में इंटरव्यू देने से पहले दो चीजें करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, राइट? समथिंग कॉल्ड इंडस्ट्री रिसर्च, समथिंग कॉल्ड इंटरव्यूअर रिसर्च, राइट? इंडस्ट्री रिसर्च क्या होती है कि फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू आर गिविंग एन इंटरव्यू इन SaaS, I think you should know everything about, or for example, like if Chinmay is interviewing with MoEngage, he should know everything about the communications and analytics platforms that exist. MoEngage, why is it better than WebEngage? Where is WebEngage known well? Where is CleverTap known well? What is the size of the industry? How fast it's growing? Is there omni-channel potential? Is there not omni-channel potential? Right? Things like that. Is lingual content more popular? Is not or English content more popular? Right? What kind of modes of communication do work nowadays? Is email as effective as it was 10 years back? If it is effective, then what are the different types of standing out emails that exist? How does personalization work? ये सारी चीजों की अंडरस्टैंडिंग उसको होनी चाहिए. फाउंडर्स ने क्या बोला है कंपनी की? व्हाट हैव दे सेड ओवर द इयर्स? व्हाट काइंड ऑफ कंटेंट दे राइट? राइट? हु आर देयर प्राइमरी बिग कस्टमर्स? ये सब कुछ पता होना चाहिए आपको बिफोर द इंटरव्यू. इट ऑन द टिप ऑफ योर टंग्स. This will allow you to build very good assuming context, because when you will make an assumption, you will be aware of things. You will not make a blatant blind assumption कि अरे ये तो नहीं होता. Right? A lot of people come to me and they say, sir, we will मैं उनसे पूछता हूँ कि यार कि what is the typical completion rates of self-paced courses in and they end up, somebody says 40%, somebody says 45%, somebody says 60%, somebody says 20%. The reality is it's not even 10%. Right? नहीं पता. और एक गूगल सर्च करोगे ना, आपको समझ में आ जाएगा. इतनी भी मेहनत कोई नहीं करता. अब आप किसी अच्छी जगह पीएम इंटरव्यू में जा रहे हो और आपने इतना भी नहीं सोचा कि यार कि मैं एक बार इंडस्ट्री को ही पढ़ लेता हूं कि इंडस्ट्री में कॉन्टेक्चुअल बात क्या करूंगा. इट इज अ वेरी बिग सिग्नल. जैसे ही आपने ये बात बोली ना, मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, मोस्ट अमेजिंग प्रोडक्ट इंटरव्यूज का जो आउटपुट है ना, वो पहले 10 मिनट में डिसाइड हो जाता है. ये बिलीव मी अबाउट दिस. उन इतनी सेंस होती है ना. हाँ, फिर वो कंटिन्यू इसलिए किया जाता है कि टू गिव एन अपॉर्चुनिटी कि मे बी आई मिसरेड, मे बी, बट 9 out of 10 times first 10 minutes only will decide whether you are hiring this candidate or whether you're not hiring this candidate. Believe me. Right? 1 out of 10 times I might be wrong. Maybe the candidate recuperates and becomes better over the next 30-40 minutes, and that's why it's done, say, for 60 minutes. But most times product managers, when they leave the product interview room, ने बोला अबे यार किससे इंटरव्यू करवा दिया यार, ये 5 मिनट में समझ में नहीं आया, मेरे इस बंदे को बात कुछ समझ में नहीं. ये फीडबैक नहीं, आपका उल्टा होना चाहिए. You go into the interview, you are so aware that the person should feel profound. He should say, oh wow, I took away something super meaningful. क्या बंदा है भाई, मतलब ये सब काम भी करता है, इंटरेस्टिंग आदमी है. Right? That should be the standing out thing. Ki, oh, this person is interesting. He's rememberable enough so that I want to have another conversation with this person. आप ये भी नहीं पढ़ के आओगे तो फिर क्या ही है. Right? The next thing is interviewer research. Interviewer research basically क्या होती है? When your interview is set up, most places आपको email मिल जाता है बंदे. Most places. Right? And if you search that email on LinkedIn, 90% of those people will be there. और out of that, मतलब 70-80% चांस तो है ही है कि वो बंदा प्रोफाइल होगी और उसने अपना काम लिखा होगा, उसने पीछे क्या किया है. आप मेरी प्रोफाइल खोल के देखोगे, आपको दिखेगा Shravan worked in analytics, so there might be a possibility he might ask analytical question. Then he worked in machine learning data science. He might ask me concepts of how do you leverage AI specifically to products. Third, he led a business, so he has business acumen. He might ask those questions. Then he led a product from 0 to 100 million, right? So he has seen 1 to 100 also. So logically, his design aspects of product thinking would also be good. आपको इंटरव्यूअर की प्रोफाइल देख के ही 90% पता लग जाएगा कि किस तरह के सवाल आने वाले हैं. ये भी आप फिगर आउट कर सकते हो. अब देयर माइट बी अ पॉसिबिलिटी कि कोई बंदा अपना लिंक्डइन अपडेट नहीं करता, बट मोस्ट पीपल डू. मैं अभी भी स्टैटिस्टिकल सिग्निफिकेंस की बात कर रहा हूं. अब कोई ऐसा सिनेरियो है कि आपको ईमेल आईडी ही नहीं मिला या उसने अपनी लिंक्डइन प्रोफाइल यूज ही नहीं की है, वो तो फिर यार वो तो एक अलग चीज है. उसमें तो मतलब दैट्स अ रेयर सिनेरियो. राइट? बट मोस्ट प्लेसेस एटलीस्ट आपको एक सिग्नल मिल जाएगा कि बंदा क्या पूछ सकते. क्रेड जाओगे, क्रेड के बंदे क्यों नहीं डिजाइन के बारे में बात करेंगे? उनकी फिलोसफी डिजाइन की है. दे आर गोइंग टू आस्क यू डिजाइन लेड क्वेश्चंस. ऑब्वियसली ये दो चीजें भी अगर आपने इंटरव्यू से पहले कर ली ना, कि there is nothing public on the internet that I don't know about this industry or this company, right? जो मेरे लिए. और second, do I know my interviewer well enough? Have I stalked him across from all places and understand what has he done, what is his background, what has he done, and get a sense of it and what he should talk about. आप 50% राउंड में ऑलरेडी क्लियर हो. राइट? क्योंकि अब आपको पता है मुझे क्या बात करनी है. अब मैं इसके आगे चलता हूं. मैं ये ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. अब इंटरव्यू पे आते हैं. ठीक है? अब ये होते हैं स्किल्स. राइट? अब इन्हीं के बेसिस पे टिपिकली फर्स्ट प्रोडक्ट सेंस क्वेश्चंस ही होंगे ऑब्वियसली. फिर प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट बेसिक्स के सवाल होंगे. राइट? ठीक है, like what does a PM do, what are the key challenges, how do you prioritize features, then process related question, जैसे मैंने चिन्मय को बताया, there was a project which got shelved off, right? How do you manage a complex launch, how do you deal with a difficult team member, right? Then past projects, आपके बारे में कि आपने क्या किया उसको डिटेल में पूछेंगे, right? Why did you choose X over Y, how did you deal with Z failure, right? Then domain expertise पे सवाल होंगे, how is company X positioned versus company Y, like web engage versus mo engage, right? And then understanding of technology. Typically ये 5-6 चीजें होती हैं जो एक पीएम इंटरव्यू में असेस होती हैं, राइट? और किस तरह के क्वेश्चंस होते हैं, अभी आप नोटिस करो ये चीज, अब आप नोटिस करो, मैंने क्या लिखा था, एसेंशियल पीएम एट्रीब्यूट्स, हैज प्रोडक्ट सेंस, इज स्मार्ट, गेट्स थिंग्स डन, इज अ कल्चर फिट, हैज टेक्निकल स्किल्स. बिकॉज ही हैज प्रोडक्ट सेंस रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस पूछे जाते हैं, बिकॉज ही इज स्मार्ट, दैट्स व्हाई प्रोडक्ट सेंस क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं. हैज क्या कहते हैं, इज स्मार्ट है तो गेट्स थिंग्स डन, तो बेसिक्स के सवाल पूछे जाते हैं, प्रोसेस रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन, कल्चर फिट है तो प्रोसेस रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन. दैट इज व्हाई द राउंड, बिकॉज ही स्मार्ट, ब्रेन टीजर्स, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग के क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं. दिस इज द रियल रीजन, बिकॉज ये 5 एट्रीब्यूट्स टेस्ट करने हैं. दैट इज द रीजन दीज क्वेश्चन, द इंटरव्यू इज डिजाइंड दैट वे, right? So you need to be better at doing product science questions, you need to be good at solving broad man strategy questions, you need to be good at process related execution oriented questions, you need to have a very good grasp of the things that you have done. If you have done it for the heck of doing it, never show in your experience, don't write it across कि आपने कोई प्रोजेक्ट वैसे ही किया हुआ है जो आपका मन नहीं था, किसी ने दे दिया और आपने कुछ नहीं सीखा, वहां पे मत लिखो, बीच में पूछ लेगा. लॉट ऑफ पीपल, इट लुक्स एंटरप्राइजिंग, ई कॉमर्स में लिखते हैं वी हैंडल्ड डिमांड साइड प्लेटफॉर्म. भाई क्या मतलब है उसका, कोई बंदा तुमसे एक लेवल नीचे डीप सवाल, कहानी उधर ही खत्म, राइट? हाउ डू यू प्रिपेयर फॉर दिस? बहुत सिंपल तरीका है ब्रो, बहुत बहुत सिंपल तरीका है. आप या तो खुद मेहनत करो, and there are lot tons of exercises like PM exercises, etc., where you can practice these questions and solve them. Second, you join a very good live class, do something where you can prepare for it, right? In a structured manner, you do that, right? Just a lot of my students are here from the Rethinks live program, that is also there. थर्ड इज आप खुद भी यूट्यूब पे जाके, मेरे चैनल पे जाके पढ़ सकते हो, लेकिन वहां पे आपको खुद फाइट मारनी होगी. फोर्थ, you should need a very powerful community around you, because you should need motivation to solve and big practice for this, right? Fifth, you should also have a very good network, right? So that you are essentially becoming better and learning from other people, right? And that is the reason fundamentally कोई भी अच्छा प्रोग्राम या कोई भी अच्छी ऐसी क्लास तभी मीनिंगफुल है, आज ये पूरा लेक्चर तभी मीनिंगफुल है जब आप इससे कुछ टेक अवे लेके जाओगे. टेक अवे का क्या मतलब होता है? ईदर यू विल स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग योर पोर्टफोलियो, ईदर यू विल स्टार्ट स्टडीइंग, ईदर यू विल जॉइन अ लाइव प्रोग्राम एंड प्रिपेयर फॉर इट, बिकॉज तभी एक अच्छा रोल मिलेगा. अगर आपको अच्छा रोल नहीं चाहिए, अगर आपको पीएम रोल टाइटल में चाहिए, तो बहुत हैक्स है मार्केट में, चले जाओ, लेकिन फिर अपने करियर को जिस तरह देख रहे हो ना, देन पोस्ट आफ्टर अ सर्टेन पॉइंट, फिर इसलिए क्रिप मत करना कि मिड लाइफ क्राइसिस आ गई, इसलिए क्रिप मत करना कि सैलरी नहीं, इसलिए क्रिप मत करना कि टॉक्सिक बॉस है. तो अपने करियर को आप चूज कर सकते हो. एक तरीका है द सेम वे, दैट्स व्हाई आई एम आस्किंग सो मेनी ऑफ यू टू आस्क क्वेश्चंस. आप सवाल नहीं पूछ रहे तो ये आपकी, क्योंकि मैं खुद देख रहा हूँ 60 लोग हैं कॉल में. इफ यू डोंट हैव क्वेश्चन, दैट इज अ वेरी वियर्ड थिंग, बिकॉज ये अपॉर्चुनिटी सबको नहीं मिलेगी, राइट? आप खुद ही ये सवाल पूछो कि अपने आप से कि व्हाट डू यू डिजायर इन लाइफ? डू यू वांट अ ग्रेट रोल, अ ग्रेट प्लेस, और अ करियर वेयर you can look up to and say you have done something meaningful in life? Or do you want the role for the heck of a role? Like, I am completely with people who say that I want a role only to earn money and then probably I want to do things parallelly, but that is not, then this role is not really the right fit for that. This is not the place that you should come there. Then there are tons of other places where you can be, right? But इस अगर आपको अच्छा प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर बनना है या एक अच्छा बिल्डर बनना है, तो इट्स अ वेरी encompassing, it's a very structured thinking, it's a very logical role, and that's why those kind of people have built like such amazing products, right? आगे चलते हैं, ठीक है? ठीक है, मैं अब यहां पे रुकता हूं. मैं लास्ट चीज आपको ये बताना चाहता हूं, हम नेक्स्ट टाइम, जैसे हम मोस्टली नेक्स्ट 2 वीक्स में एक और छोटा सा लेक्चर करेंगे, ठीक है? मोस्ट लाइकली मैं एक लाइव फिर से करूंगा, तो हम उस टाइम पे बात करेंगे आप इन प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉल्व करने की इफेक्टिव अप्रोचेस क्या होती हैं. बट मैं आपको फंडामेंटली आज ये बात बताना चाहता हूं कि देर आर इन अ पीएम इंटरव्यू, देर आर 3 लेयर्स, राइट? If you state the obvious in a PM interview, you are not selected. If you go to the interesting bits, things which the interviewer doesn't know, right? And you put them across, and you say enough of those interesting things, or your thought process is interesting enough, you go into the profound range. And if you're, and that is your goal, you need to cross this line, this bar of attention line that the interviewer should give you. He should think that I learned something profound after the interview that happened, so that I'll remember you. Then you are through the role. मैंने अपने जीवन में, I'll give you an example. When I started 2017 में, मैंने शुरू के 6 महीने में ना कोई 20 इंटरव्यू टाइप दिए होंगे, राइट? उसमें से मेरे 2 इंटरव्यू में हुआ। मैंने अपनी प्रोसेस को चेंज किया, 2-3 महीने लगाए, नेक्स्ट 14 इंटरव्यू में से 13 जगह से मेरे पास ऑफर थे। तो देयर इज अ मेथड टू द मैडनेस, बट आपको वो मेथड करना आना चाहिए। आपको वो चीजें फाइट, वो ऐसी चीजें नहीं है जो आपको कोई एक दिन में कोई कोई कुछ दवाई खिला के सिखा सकता है कि ब्रो दिस इज द मेडिसिन, टेक इट एंड फ्रॉम टुमारो यू विल बी सुपर कूल एंड योर थॉट प्रोसेस चेंजेस, राइट? दैट इज द रीजन यू शुड इन्वेस्ट इन जेन्युइनली। अगर आप सेल्फ ड्रिवन हो, बहुत मोटिवेटेड हो, तो यार मैंने यूट्यूब चैनल पे इतना कंटेंट, लेकिन मेरे यूट्यूब चैनल से कुछ नहीं होगा। मैंने लास्ट टाइम भी ये स्टैटिस्टिक बोला था, मेरे यूट्यूब चैनल ने 2.5 मिलियन व्यूज किए हैं यार। 2.5 मिलियन व्यूज एक प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट चैनल ने किए हैं, उसके अंदर से 500 लोगों की नौकरी लगी। व्हाट इज द रीजन? फिर तो कम से कम 2.5 मिलियन में यूनिक यूजर 1 मिलियन तो होंगे, 1 मिलियन में से सिर्फ 500 की लोग नौकरी लगी। ऐसा क्यों? ये तो बहुत अबिस्मल नंबर है, क्योंकि सुनने से कुछ नहीं होता। मेरी बातें आज भी सुनोगे, इसके बाद ये बंद करके अच्छा बहुत अच्छा वीडियो था, रिकॉर्डिंग रख लोगे, एक ड्राइव में अपलोड कर दोगे, तो कुछ नहीं होगा। Nothing is going to change, right? It's just one more recording, one more hour that Shravan spent with you, and nothing happened. और उसका कोई आउटकम नहीं आएगा, तो इसीलिए मेरी मोटिवेशन भी लूज होगी, फिर मैं बोलूंगा यार मैं करता ही क्यों, राइट? तो मेक्स, दिस इज द रियल रीजन। लेकिन अगर मेरी बात को उठा के उस पर काम करोगे, उसको जेन्युइनली फॉलो करोगे, और उस तो आपको खुद रिजल्ट दिखेंगे, लेकिन वो रिजल्ट 10 दिन में तो नहीं दिखेंगे। दोज आर नॉट द रिजल्ट दैट यू विल सी इन 10 days. You will have to do it for, you need to keep patience for 2 months, 3 months, to say, keep applying, learn these concepts, keep applying, keep trying, and it will work. And it will work. It takes time. It's a new skill set of thinking, of learning, of becoming better as a leader, as an operator. बिल्कुल सही बात है। तो यहां पे मैं आपको चीजें खत्म करता हूं। मैं बोलता हूं यहां पे कि अब नेक्स्ट इंटरव्यू में, नेक्स्ट सेशन में हम ये बात करेंगे कि हम एक प्रोडक्ट इंटरव्यू के क्वेश्चंस को, प्रोडक्ट साइंस के क्वेश्चन को एग्जीक्यूट, उनको ब्रेक डाउन कैसे करते हैं और उसको समझाते कैसे, वो मैं मोस्टली 2 हफ्ते बात करूंगा। मैंने ये चीज इसीलिए तो दिस इज द वन रीजन दैट आई टिपिकली टेल पीपल, ऑल ऑफ यू पीपल शुड अंडरस्टैंड देयर आर ओनली 2 ways to become a very good PM. One, spend enough time, but time also has a cost, right? आप 2 साल लगाओगे, लोग आपसे आगे बढ़ जाएंगे, ये सच्चाई है, ये इसमें कोई ट्रूथ नहीं, क्योंकि यार when you, the 1 hour where you're not working, somebody else is, right? And that is a reality. वो, और उसी तरीके से करियर्स बनते हैं, right? The second way is you essentially figure out different cues in your life कि should I join a very good community, should I build my access on LinkedIn, should I learn from other peers, and that is where you invest your capital. And you say कि यार मैं ये पैसा लेकिन वो पैसा तब लगाओ जब आप टाइम की कमिटमेंट देने के लिए रेडी हो। अगर आप टाइम की कमिटमेंट देने के लिए रेडी नहीं हो, तो फिर कोई पॉइंट ही नहीं है, फिर पॉइंटलेस, इट्स अ पॉइंटलेस थिंग टू डू, और इट्स अ ग्रेट थिंग टू लर्न दैट वे। if you don't do that, it is going to be an irrational thing for yourself only, because मैंने यही चीज बहुत लोगों से देखी है कि बच्चे आते हैं, वो 2-2 साल, 1-1 साल लगे हुए हैं, लेकिन वो they are not willing to step out of their comfort zone and saying that is there a better method to do this, right? मैं आपको ये बातें इसलिए बता रहा हूं क्योंकि आज के सेशन से अगर आप सच में कुछ मीनिंगफुल नहीं लेके जाते, तो कोई फायदा नहीं है। तो फिर मेरे लिए भी कोई वो नहीं है, और मैं चाहता हूं कि आज आप सारे लोग जो ग्रुप से भी आए हो, जरूर अपना फीडबैक देना कि यार कि बेसिकली कैसा लगा आपको सेशन, एंड देन आई विल टेक 10 मिनट्स में और क्वेश्चंस लूंगा। आई विल ट्राई टू टेक सम क्वेश्चंस। द सेकंड थिंग आई वांट टू टॉक अबाउट इज, इफ यू वांट टू रियली लर्न दिस, हमारी एप्लीकेशंस भी चालू हैं, आवर लाइव प्रोग्राम गॉट लॉन्च yesterday. This is also one more thing that I want to put across, but typically it is, again, you can also apply for that program, but again you have to put your head where your mouth is, राइट? आप लाइव प्रोग्राम को अच्छे से पढ़िए, जो चीजें हुई हैं, हमने पढ़ाया कैसे है, what are the things that we do in as a community, and there are a bunch of students in the call also. आप उनको भी reach out कर सकते हो, which will be super meaningful for you if you wish to do that, right? So we have launched that across. ये हमारा 5th program है. We have students which अभी recently I got the news of a student who got to Amazon. मैंने अभी community में भी announce नहीं की थी. Senior product manager, senior program manager, he joined as in Amazon as an intern, right? And now he's essentially going to effectively join there as an SPM, right? So मेरे कहने का आपसे सिर्फ यही मतलब है, लेकिन ये सारे जो आउटकम्स हैं, ये फंक्शन है आपकी खुद की मेहनत के. If you are super driven, each of these things take time to learn, and if you spend that amount of time, then that role is truly for you. But if you think that it is not really meaningful, or आप time की commitment नहीं देना चाहते, and there is a hack to do this, I don't think there is. So check out the program at rethinksystems.in. You can check that out, go through, understand the program, and please do apply if you feel it's valuable, and look at the testimonials and things like that.